Well, hello friends. Welcome back to the program. Today we're going to play another game of the FIXME Roulette because it is so much fun that I don't want to stop, at least not today. So the rules of the game are that we grep for FIXME or to do in the Serenity codebase, and then we pick a random one and work on it. And then people were asking me why I type out this command instead of making an alias. It's because it's part of the ritual. It's nice to do it. So we will be choosing from 5,499 total possible ones. But today we will let Shuffle pick one. So that will be Space Analyzer main. To do, both these menus could have been implemented as one, but it's impossible to change action text after it's shown once. All right. Let's go look at that in context. So line 381. Both these menus could have been implemented as one, but it's impossible to change action text after it's shown once. And then we create two menus. So I guess the idea is that these two menus could be one menu that we dynamically update depending on the context. This is just the main function where we're setting stuff up. Okay, so these are like right-click context menus. I don't know. Let's go see how these are actually used. Let's go have a look. Space Analyzer. All right, so we're looking for the folder node and file node context menus. So I'm guessing if I right click on something here, this is a file. So this is probably a file node context menu, open containing folder. And then if I click here on a folder, I get open folder. So this is presumably a folder node context menu. Also, why do we elide the text here? Like it would clearly fit. That seems like a bug. Like it ends in ... but there's like tons of space here. We can fit one more character, or even I mean, I guess it's more than one character. It's like libline.so.serenity, but still, like that could fit. Why don't we let it expand? That's totally not what we're here to look at though. So let's look at these. So, okay, so we have two menus, and then how do we pop these up? So the folder node is popped up. Let's see, tree map widget on context menu requests, and then depending on whether is directory on the current selected path says yes or no, we pop up the sort of the appropriate menu. Okay, so the to-do or the FIXME would be to pop up the same menu every time, but to alter the contents of the menu depending on the state. Let's see. So it's really just the first action that's different, open folder action or open containing folder action. So open folder versus open containing. Where are these created? Open folder action. Okay, so we got these two here. So it's not just about changing the action text, right? It's about swapping out one action for another. It says it's impossible to change action text after it's shown once. We don't have API for I don't think we have API for like taking something out of a menu and putting something else in its place. What do we have? We have add action, add separator, and add submenu. And we have remove all actions, but there is no API for like removing a specific action or replacing an action. I guess the text here alludes to changing the action text. So what we could do is we could change the action text depending on the context. But what's nicer, changing the action text or swapping out the action for a different action? If we swap out the action, then we don't need to separate callbacks, so we don't need to do anything differently in the callback. If we keep the same action, then the callback has to be aware of whether we're currently looking at a folder or a file. It feels like it's more straightforward to just swap out the text, have a way of swapping out the text. So I guess let's try that approach. Swapping out the action, it's not even clear to me how a good API for that would look like. Like you could have a replace action API where you sort of, well, you could have a remove action API, and then you could have an API to insert an action at a specific index in the menu. But yeah, that's not really how we've been working with menus so far. Like so far, you just build up a menu with all the things, and then you can sort of enable and disable and change things about the actions that are in the menu, but we don't like take things out and put other things back in. So in keeping with that, the way that we've been using menus, let's use a single action and then swap its text. So I guess open file or file, open folder action. I mean, open folder action was pretty decent. It's just that it's going to be the containing folder sometimes. So open folder action, and because both of them are control O. So by, I guess right now they're actually ambiguous because both exist. Does anything else embed this thing? It's only in the context menu. Okay, so how do we know if we are a folder or a file? We knew that where we were popping up, right? Down here, okay. On context menu request. So here we will prep the menu. So file, let's say node context menu. We'll rename it from file node context menu to node context menu. Okay. And we will only have the open folder action, but we need to see the state somewhere. So okay, so if core file is directory, open folder action, set text. Oh, we have set text. Okay, so let's set text to, what was it? Open containing folder, right? If it's a directory, then it's just open folder. Okay, hello. Open containing folder, okay. And then is this code nicer? I don't know. We'll see when we get to the finish line if this actually feels nicer. And then we also need to know that it's a folder or directory. So current context menu is for directory. Like it would be something like this, right? And then you will make this a bool somewhere. So like this, whatever. It doesn't matter what it's initially because we always set it up before popping up. But if it's for a directory, then just open it up. Otherwise, it's for a containing folder. So we want the containing folder of a file. Current node is a directory. Open, this action opens it. Or current node is a file, opens the containing folder, right? And then we can actually just do that since it's actually set elsewhere. Okay, so this is one approach to it. Let's see how that works out. And I'm guessing that it's not actually going to work because, as the to-do was saying, we don't let you update the text after it's been shown once. But let's see how that goes. So space analyzer. So now I right-clicked on a file, we get containing folder. Right-click on a folder, we get open folder. Wait, so it already does work. So it might be that we didn't have the capability when this was, when the to-do was written, but we do have the capability now to do this. So yeah, so this is, I guess this is an option. Let's see that it works. Oh, this should open lib, which it does. And if I go directly on user, open should open user. Yeah, okay, so it does work. Which is nice, but is this the nicest version of this? Because like the random external Boolean keeping track of what kind of menu is open, it's a bit janky, right? Like it's not exactly elegant. But we don't have a way to plumb information here really to the action in any other way other than like a captured variable that the callback can see. So the other approach would be having that replace API that I talked about. So it would be something like, let's bring the original stuff back. So we'll call this V1. All right, and then we will do this in a different way. See how it looks at least, and then we can see if we like it better. So we keep both actions in V2. So open folder action and open containing folder action. But down here, we would have some kind of API for swapping it out. So, I mean, we would still have a single menu. So the single menu would have open folder action. We can keep that. To do goes away. But we can just call this context menu, I guess. Right, so we always open the context menu. But depending on whether it's or not it's a directory, context menu would we have something like set at index? Like that's an option, right? Like we could have a thing that just sets set action at index 0 open folder. So it's a bit weird API, but it is quite expressive. Open containing folder action. I wonder if that's the most expressive way of saying it. Another one would be like, because initially I was thinking about a replace API where you say like, oh, replace this action with some other action, but that requires you to know which one is currently in the first slot, slot 0, right? Which would require querying it, I guess. So then that call would look something like replace action at context menu, like action at 0. Yeah, okay, so we have that. Open folder action. maybe that's not a bad API actually, because it's also very expressive. Like replace action, action at 0 with the open folder action. Set action at index. There is something a bit clunky about, I don't know, it feels clunky to use the index. It is expressive. And it's, which one is more expressive? Set action at index 0. Maybe that is more to the point, and this is more a roundabout way of getting to the point. I think set action at index might be the better one, yeah. Because it tells you exactly what we're gonna do. Whatever's there at the moment, we don't even care. We don't need to look it up. We don't care what's in there at the moment. We just wanna put something at index 0. Yeah, okay. So that's, that's my thought process that went into this. Normally I don't say these things out loud, but it's kind of interesting to go through it like that. Okay, so let's see if we can invent that API then, which would be in GUI menu. So set action at index, which takes an index and an action. Maybe we should also take, we should take these as non-null ref footer, I guess. Maybe they are already. Yes, they are. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so we have add action. Do something like error or void, try set action at index. I guess you could say that they should be replace action at index. Because then you also don't have to deal with errors. I mean, you could still get errors, like if Windows Server is not responding or something like that. So, do we have somewhere to propagate failure? Not really. Okay, well, maybe I'm overthinking this at this stage. Set action at index. Let's invent this API first, just to see how it feels. Okay, set action at index, size t, that's the index, and the action. Okay, how does it work? Well, we have add action. So set action at index, maybe it should be allowed to assume that the index is valid so that you have something there already, and you can't use it to append to an empty menu by doing set action at index 0. Then again, maybe there's something nice about that. I don't know. Because then you could conceivably, like if you want to build up a menu that has specific indexes, you could also do it manually this way, although it does feel clunkish. So many thoughts. Let's just write code. Okay. For now, we will assume that it's a valid index. So verify that index is less than items size. Okay. So replace the action at a given index with a new action. The index must be valid. This cannot be used to append, to grow the menu. Okay. Set action at index. M items. At index is going to be, so how do we make a new item? What is an item even? Menu item. Type. Menu item type action. And the action is going to be action. And, oh, I should probably just look at what try add action does. Don't have to replicate that. Oh, you just create a new menu item using the constructor. That makes more sense. Right, so, I guess this thing does need to signal error somehow. Okay. Okay, so we will do basically what this thing does, which is to make a new item. And if the menu has been realized, which means that we have a valid menu ID. This is kind of old code, so it uses -1 instead of an optional. Whatever, we're not here to fix that right now. And then it appends here, but we're not going to append. We're not going to realize menu item. What does that do? Item ID. We are going to change an existing one. So okay, we'll do that. Can I do that? Why can't I do that? Can I do this? Okay, yeah, that's a little bit clunky. It's because we're using the non-null onPutter vector, and normally you don't really want to assign to a non-null onPutter vector entry. So in order to, when you do like this, you use the operator square bracket on a non-null onPutter vector, it gives you a t-amp. Like this. It doesn't give you the non-null onPutter, but it gives you the thing in the non-null onPutter. So you get the menu item instead of the smart pointer containing the menu item. So in order to get at the pointer at a specific index, we have to use putter at. So a little bit awkward, but that's the price we pay for the vast majority of cases where we want the t-amp rather than the non-null onPutter to t-amp. So what's going on with this? Item is not valid at this point, so I can't do that. Do I need to realize menu item? What does it mean to realize the menu item? I mean, to get the item, I would just need to dereference the thing. Like this. That should be fine. Get the t-amp like we just said. Realize menu item. The item and the item ID. The item knows its item ID. Or no, it doesn't. Because it's replacing whatever was in there before. Wait. Item ID. Oh, the item ID. This is where we decide the item ID. So the item ID has to be whatever was in there before's ID. So we'll take whatever was in there now. The identifier, is that it? Identifier. Okay, that's the name of it. Sure. Old identifier. Old item identifier, let's say. I don't know why it's called identifier and not item ID, but identifier. Okay, sure, whatever. And then we want to realize the menu item that we just created with the old item identifier. Okay, I wonder if that will work. I wonder. So realize basically means communicating with Windows Server and telling it, oh, this menu has this thing at this position. It looks a bit sketchy because, as you can see here, like if it's a menu item type action, what we do is we call the Windows Server and say, add menu item. We do give it an item ID, but I think add menu item, most likely, it might just append. This is Windows Server, menu, add item. Yeah, it's not going to update an existing item. It's just going to append it. M-items append in Windows Server. By the way, Windows Server owns menus. So when you're creating a menu in a user space program, you're really like creating an object on the Windows Server side, and Windows Server then displays those menus. They're not rendered by the client program, they're rendered by Windows Server. So you're just proxying all the information over to Windows Server so it can eventually display the menu. But I feel like we have an update menu item API. Menu item. Yeah, there's update menu item, but I guess it's in menu item.cpp. Update from action. Update menu item. How do we use that? Update menu item. Maybe we don't want to create a new menu item, but we want to just replace the action in the existing menu item. Maybe that's what we want to do. Maybe I thought about this the wrong way. Set action at index. So instead of creating a new item, we just leave the item that's in there right now, and we say items at index set action, move action. What if we do that? And then set action can do stuff internally. I don't know what it will do. We'll have to go look at menu item, I guess. So if this fella had a set action API, and let's see, update Windows Server. So update menu item seems to be a thing that we can do. So let's see what happens if we do this. Menu item. If you're setting it to the action it already has, then that's a no-op. So let's just return. Otherwise, can we just stash it in m-action? And then update Windows Server? Will that be enough? Maybe that's all we need to do. Set action at index. So does this need to be fallible? I guess we can let it be fallible for now. I definitely don't dislike the API as much as I thought I would. Set action at index, and then it lets us keep both actions, but we have one menu where we can swap it in and out. It's kind of neat. Because having one action and then being forced to do context-dependent stuff in the action, it's a bit of a hassle. It's something we do in many places, and being able to swap out the action is kind of interesting. Okay, so here's folder. Here was containing folder, and here is open folder. So it works. This opens lib, and if I click on open containing folder here, it should also open user lib. It does. It even highlights the file. That's pretty cool. So that actually works. Also, how cool is this app, by the way? It shows you all the different files that take up space in your file system. And the size of the rectangle for the file is supposed to be proportionally representative, roughly proportionally representative of the size of the file compared to everything else. So it's an interesting way to see what's taking up space on your hard drive. And you can actually drill down into individual places as well. So like here, this is just user test libc, We can see the test math is a hefty program at 387 kilobytes. Anyway, I think I kind of like this API. So that's maybe what we should do is just have that API that allows you to set a different action in a menu. Just replace an action, basically. Yeah, let's have that API. Do we need to do anything else when we swap it out, though? I wonder. Set action. I feel like it should be okay because we update the menu item. So Windows Server gets all the stuff from the new action. And does anything happen when we create in the constructor here? I'm thinking. We're constructing a menu item from an action. Yeah, we do need to, right, we do need to do this stuff. So we have to re-register. If it's swapping to a different action, we have to take the is enabled, is checkable, all that stuff. Okay, so that we can deal with. Set action. Okay, so register menu item. If we had a previous action, by the way, we should unregister that one. So unregister menu item, this, right. Then we're copying over all of this stuff and then finally updating Windows Server. Yeah. Just thinking we could probably do a bunch of stuff about that here. So we could implement it this way. Set action. Then we share the code with the constructor, which is nifty. Right? Slightly nicer. And then in the constructor case, we don't want to update the Windows Server, and we don't have to unregister a previous action, but the rest of the code we can share. That seems sensible. Okay, so let's have a private helper for that. Oops. Yeah. How very reasonable. I like it. Okay, so let's add this API to the menu repertoire in libgui. Set action at index. GUI add GUI menu set action at index. Actually, did I need that API? Was there an even more straightforward way? Do we expose? We do expose the items, although it's const. Wonder why we expose them. Oh, because command palette wants to iterate over them. I was just thinking you could have an API here where you just access the items directly. But outside of this API that command palette uses, we don't really expose the menu items. It's nicer to talk to the menu and for clients to not have to think about, oh, what's a menu item? Yeah, we'll use this one. This API allows you, lets you replace the action at the specific place. Replace one menu item with another by swapping the underlying action. Windows Server gets updated automatically. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Index action. Yeah, note that the index must be valid, and this cannot be used to append actions to a menu. Yeah, that seems reasonable. And then the code change in Space Analyzer, I would say, is actually much nicer now because we get rid of the double menus and we just swap the action depending on what you want. Like there's a tiny bit of magic going on with the 0 here. Like we just know that it happens to be in the 0th position. There's probably a way to make that nicer. At the very least, we should make a note about it in a comment. But yeah, I wonder what would be like the really nice way of doing it. Like if you could sort of say like, oh, there's a placeholder here or something, and it would give you an index for it. I'm not exactly sure. Add placeholder, something like this. Would this be the nicest way of doing this? So we would get an index here. Open context menu, open action index, something like that. And then, yeah, and then you can fill that in further down the line. Instead of saying 0, we would say open context menu, open action index. Then there's no magic 0. Just need to implement this placeholder business, which will give you back a size t. Try add placeholder, and we can actually wrap that and try here. It should be fine. Actually, we don't even need to add yeah, we can only add this version. That's fine. Then we don't need the try prefix. So what does this do? What does adding a separator do? So it's like adding a separator, but we're adding a placeholder instead. So we do need a new menu item for it, but we will say, oh, it's a placeholder. Or it's even, I mean, it's technically an action, I guess. What is the difference here? I guess as long as you call, yeah, you have to actually set something on it. Set action. If you do this, then I guess we should verify here maybe that the type is type action or type is type placeholder. And then we will set the type to action here. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Okay, so it's a placeholder until you assign to it. Yes. So we just add the placeholder like that. Yeah, that should be okay. I don't think we need to realize the menu because the Windows Server doesn't really need to be updated if we're adding a placeholder, because you're supposed to put something there before actually sending it to Windows Server. So maybe actually in realize menu item, we should I was going to say we should verify that you don't have placeholders at the point where you're trying to send something to Windows Server. So case menu item type, verify not reached. There are placeholder menu items. There are still placeholder menu items when asked to realize the menu, or asked to realize a menu that still has placeholder items. Something like that, right? Or we can also do that, because when you get verify not reached, then you will go here and look at what is it. That's probably okay too. So add placeholder, let's explain what that does. Adds a placeholder for an action that and returns the menu item index. The placeholder must be replaced with an action before showing the menu. Yes, set action. Yes, that's pretty good. Okay. I feel pretty okay about this API. So here, size t item index is m items size. Don't need to realize, but we have to return the item index. Yeah. Yeah. Just thinking, should we call them action placeholders or just placeholders? Placeholder is good enough, I think. Yeah. Note, we add a placeholder menu item that gets updated before showing the menu, or something like that. Showing the menu below. Gets updated. Yeah, so this is an even better API, I would say. Or a good expansion of the API. libGUI, add placeholder menu items. This patch adds GUI menu add placeholder, which appends a placeholder menu item and returns its index. Placeholders can be used for context-sensitive menu items, context-sensitive menus that want to that want to have specific, that want to show specific actions in the menu depending on state, depending on whatever state, depending on, how do we say this? Context-sensitive menus that want to show specific actions they want to include specific actions depending on state, not available before the menu is actually not available at the time we construct the menu. By having the placeholders index, you can call set action, GUI menu set action, to insert, to put the right actions in place just before showing the menu. Yeah. So this should have containing, but it instead crashes. Fantastic. That was not good. So where did we crash? Menu item set action. All right. Oh, wait, I never actually assign it. That's goofy. Did I break that in this commit? No, it was, wait. Set action impl. Oh, I see. So the in the case it's a placeholder, we don't have an M action here, of course. So if M action. And then we'd let this fella take care of setting the type to action. That's better. Yeah, so that was a little mistake there, but nothing we can't fix. Space analyzer. So these guys have containing folders. These guys are folders. Beautiful. Yeah, I think that's super cool. Yeah, I like it. Okay, so that was an amend. Cool. And then this is space analyzer taking care of the to-do. Space analyzer. Consolidate the node context menus. Instead of having two separate context menus and popping up either the file or directory one, depending on the selected node, we now have a single context menu and update it before popping it up to show, to include the context appropriate actions. This takes care of one to-do. It was a to-do, right? Yeah, this guy right here. Cool. Wow. That went around a little bit, but I think this turned out pretty cool. And I particularly like that the add placeholder API gives you the index. So then you don't need to think about magic indices later because it tells you the index to use. So you have to hold on to it. Yeah, I like that. Okay, I think that's going to be the end of today's video. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching and for hanging out while we play FIXME Roulette. And yeah, see you all next time. Bye.